Almost everybody I know says they want to write a book.
Including me.
Working in a company means you have constraints. So you can't just, sit down one day and start writing at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. or something like that. Because you have limited time and you have this sort of inherited discipline from work, I think it actually helps as a writer.
You've likened career growth to rock climbing in one of your podcasts.
Between both the way companies are operating and the way people want to operate, the career has become like something else altogether.
What advice would you give to professionals looking to transition from corporate roles into entrepreneurship?
I think the first thing that you want to discover is a huge culture shock.
Hello and welcome to the Dreamcatchers Show Season 2, where we capture inspiring stories, one dream at a time. Hosted by your very own Shalima Motial. Powered by The Resilient Investor. Knowledge partners, Global Indian International School. Associate sponsor, Ritika, your health coach. Restaurant partner, Olivia, Noah and Cake. Hair and makeup by Chandni Sahu. Supporting partner, JQ Yachts. Flying Dolphin, and media partner, CrazyTok. As promised, we will keep getting you inspiring stories, and so with us, today we have someone very inspiring who has helped us put this Dreamcatchers show to life. It's none other than Mr. Amit Ray. He is the visionary founder of CrazyTok, a leading podcasting agency in Singapore. As a serial entrepreneur, author, and podcaster, Amit has crafted a unique blend of creativity and operational expertise. With a background in shaping successful operations at Grab and Uber, he now helps businesses and professionals launch and grow their own branded podcasts. Please help me welcome Amit as he shares insights on personal branding and the art of storytelling in the digital age. It's not just about business. This man has a heart of gold, and it's been a pleasure working with him in Season 1 of the Dreamcatchers show, and the beautiful relationship with the entire team of CrazyTok continues in the Dreamcatchers show Season 2. So please put your hands together for Amit Ray. Welcome to the show, Amit.
Thanks a lot, Shalima. I mean, that's a very kind introduction. And we have to make sure we get this episode absolutely right to meet those expectations that you've just said.
I have no doubt about that. So let's start. I have a couple of questions for you. And we will start with your fascinating career trajectory from scaling operations at Uber and Grab to founding CrazyTok. Now, what motivated you to transition from corporate roles to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so actually my starting point wasn't Uber or Grab. I actually started many years back with a company called Cambridge Technology Partners.
Okay.
I worked with Citigroup and Polaris in India and stuff like that. But I've always had this, I would say, entrepreneurial streak, or at least a desire to do something of my own. It in fact started immediately after I finished my master's, when I had this job offer and I was supposed to join Cambridge Technology Partners. And back then in the year 2000, this was in the the peak of the dot-com boom era.
Right.
And I wanted to set up a tech company and like a website kind of thing. I had this idea that I'd do this thing about making content which would be for students, and then I would distribute it in small towns, villages on CDs, and I would co-found it with this lady who then I married later.
Oh, how cool!
But she talked me out of it and said, "You have a job, please go do that first."
Right.
Which I think was good advice in hindsight. But I think this bug has been there for a while. So I had this idea in 2000. I had another idea in 2005-06 of making audio guides to historical monuments in India, which is something I actually managed to do in we started in 2010. So from around 2010 to 15, I was doing this business where we were making audio guides, travel guides, we tried making an app, all kinds of stuff. None of that actually worked, but it definitely, it fueled, or rather it fulfilled that desire that I had. And in a weird way, it actually helped me get into Uber, because Uber was At the time, I think very friendly towards people who had startups or had some sort of a business background.
Okay. What inspired you to create CrazyTok? Because that has nothing to do with Uber or Grab. You started this right after that, right?
Post Uber, I joined Grab, and after Grab, actually while I was working at Grab, I had launched a podcast of my own. This was on personal finance. And I think I did like maybe 25, 30 episodes of it.
Wow.
But the reason I stopped was because it would take so much effort to do it. So each episode, like right from researching, scripting, recording, editing, and I would do everything myself. It used to take maybe 12, 13, 15 hours of work per episode. And I had a job. So I really couldn't keep it up. And so I kind of put it on a hiatus and stopped doing it. And then when I left Grab, I thought, okay, let me take a bit of a break before I find my next gig. And in the meantime, I'll figure out how to, outsource some of the editing and make all this happen. So I did that, and then, it became a bit smoother. Then I was like, okay, let me launch another podcast because another idea. So then I had 2 podcasts, then I had 3 podcasts. And then I was like, well, I'm doing so much of this work and I've figured out kind of how to do this and how to make a process out of it. Maybe I can offer this as a service to other people. And I kind of got lucky because an acquaintance of mine happened to have a podcast and happened to be trying to outsource it at the time. So I said, whatever you're willing to pay, I'll just take it and do it for you. So that's how this began.
Sure. So when you said 25 to 30 episodes, were you giving out the gyan and knowledge, or were you hosting people and talking to them about finance?
So between the 3 podcasts, so one was on finance, one was on careers, and one was on small businesses. One was my own gyan largely, which was the personal finance one. The other 2 podcasts were all interview. And between them, I probably recorded 70, 80 episodes.
Whoa. And tell me, where did the name CrazyTok come from?
Oh, that's a fun story. So when I started doing this, I was like, TikTok is doing well. I actually want to probably do something with short videos and stuff like that. So I wanted to call it Talk something. So TOK, whatever.
Right.
So I came up with Talk Ventures, Talk this, Talk that. And between trying to find a website that is Talk Ventures or whatever I wanted, and getting a name, a company name that would be approved, I just couldn't make the 2 match. So Talk anything wasn't working. So then I got very annoyed one day and said, I'm sure CrazyTok is not taken. So then I went and looked for it, and sure enough, it was available everywhere. So I just did it.
So I hear that about dream catchers as well.
Right.
So whoever hears the name, they find it very catchy and then they don't forget it. So it always helps to have a name like CrazyTok that sticks.
Exactly.
So you were managing like really big operations at Uber and Grab. How did that experience help you at CrazyTok?
So at Uber, I was managing customer support. And at Grab, I was part of the Grab food team handling restaurant operations.
Okay.
So the expertise I built up was entirely in operations between these 2. And operations largely involves process design, making people adhere to a process. So I think the operations, technology, metrics, that kind of thinking applies very well to repeatable content work. So things like podcasts or social media or shorts, things like that. I think it applies quite well. You have to bring out something on time, on schedule, periodically. So an operations mindset actually helps quite a bit with that.
I'm sure, yeah.
And that's what kind of makes us unique and different, because I approach the whole thing as an operations problem.
Right.
Not so much from the creative side.
Right, but then you have the team that does that.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's the push and pull, which I think works quite well, which is creative people put into an operational box and trying to make that work.
Right. So that was my next question, that, you're known for blending creativity and process. So how has this unique combination influenced your approach to leadership and business?
It's been a challenge. So see, in an operations world or in a corporate world, you're not really meant to be creative. I mean, you're creative within the scope of the role that you have. It's a well-defined thing that you're supposed to do. And there are rules or guidelines or some manager or whatever telling you what to do. In creative work, and the thing is, you're doing this in a process sort of way. At least my expertise was how to do this in process. So the challenge here is, how do I take a group of largely creative people and somehow get them to operate in an assembly line fashion, right? It's like you're in a creative factory, which is, a bit of a oxymoron. You can't
Totally,
do two
yeah.
things. So I think that's the big challenge. How it works right now for us is number one, the push and pull. The fact that I'm always saying, okay, how do I processify this? How do I template this? How do I put tech into it? And the creative people are saying, okay, now how do I make this look different? How can we can't adhere to a formula, all of that stuff. So I think this push and pull actually works quite well for us. So that's one. But the other stuff that I have to figure out is how do I lead and manage a team of creative people, given that I don't come from a formal media background.
Right.
So if my AV editor says, hey, I want to grow and develop, how do I help them grow and develop? Because I'm not an AV editor and I've never managed such people. And the third thing is many of the team members are quite young. They're in their first job. Many of them were freelancers who then converted over to being full-time with us. So they've not worked in corporate setups themselves.
Right.
So how do I corporatize them?
Yeah, and keep them motivated, because I'm sure there's a huge difference in managing teams when you're with a corporate setup versus your own, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because most of the people have not worked in corporates. Even things like I've sent a calendar invite, you must accept that invite is something that actually has to be taught, which you kind of feel like is an obvious, natural thing. So I think it's, so partly it is the creative versus process kind of tension in a way. And partly it is young people hopefully being shaped to work in a more professional corporate kind of construct. So I think these are the things. I don't think I've answered the question so much of how has it shaped my approach to leadership, other than it's made me a bit more patient, a bit more open to the fact that different people have experiences that I won't quite understand. So I need to understand better before I kind of force through or suggest ways to do things.
So in a way, you're growing together with your team, right?
Exactly.
They're probably learning how to operationalize the whole thing, and you're learning the creative aspect of it. That's how you have the team along with you, and they're not quitting and moving out, right?
Exactly. So actually, in fact, you're right. We have a pretty decent retention in the sense from a voluntary standpoint. I think I learn a lot about creativity per se, and it's not just, by the way, from the team. We learn just as much or more from clients, because some clients have experience in this, like yourself, and so you can actually tell us what you're looking for and how we can improve. Some don't, but they know what is good, or they know what they want, and that helps us also. It pushes us in some way, because it's like we might think, okay, we've worked out the best way of doing something, but best is in the eyes of the beholder in the case of creativity. So that makes it a very interesting challenge, because there is no best or any perfect.
Right.
Whereas in the operations world, there is a best. If your number hits 100%, you've achieved it. So
That's true. So CrazyTok is not your first venture. As you mentioned, you had others. So you've co-founded multiple ventures like Go Places and Helium Communications. So what are the key lessons that you've learned or understood about entrepreneurship or building businesses? And do you also hope to then have a fourth venture you'll jump into, or you're with CrazyTok for a bit now?
I'll answer the second part first. So hopefully we will do well enough that I don't need a fourth venture.
Great, okay.
But CrazyTok itself, I think we have a lot of scope to expand what we do.
For sure.
So my thinking with the company is we are supporting a creator, or rather we are supporting somebody who has expertise or something to share with the world. So in your case, for example, you have an idea, you have a vision for what you want to achieve. We are helping produce that vision, and we are making the content, and that's going out. But people have different ways in which they may want to express this. So some people do it through podcasts, some people do it through reels or blogs or whatever. So number one is we can expand into different forms of content. But more than that, we actually can, I'm almost thinking of us as how can we be the platform on which creators stand to achieve whatever it is that they achieve their dreams actually.
Right.
And so if today we are doing content production, tomorrow we have to help you find how to grow your audience. Day after, we have to help you make money out of whatever's happening. So to the extent that we can do these things, that is the expansion. And that just means it's kind of like different kinds of businesses, but within one umbrella. So I don't really see a fourth business being required. What have I learned from the past businesses? So it's funny, because one of them was a failure in the sense it didn't go where I wanted it to go, or it frankly went nowhere.
So actually, failures teach you more than successes do.
Exactly. The other one was an agency called Helium Communications, which incidentally was into social media and content once again. I think I've learned a few things which I now apply to my business. So first learning is the most important thing is distribution and finding a market. Most founders get caught up in how do I make the best product and how do I make the best product is in eyes of the beholder, which is me. I think this is the best, this is what the market should have, this is perfect because I want that thing. But until you go to market, you don't know if the market wants it.
Right.
And so distribution is super important. You have to find a way to sell your product and get it into the hands of either hundreds of B2B customers or millions of B2C customers. If you can't do that, it doesn't matter how great, perfect, whatever it is that you've built. So therefore, that is lesson one. The next thing to build after distribution is usability. So first figure out how to get it into the hands of people. Once it's in the hands of people, it has to be very easy for them to use and get to seeing some value. So that's the second most important thing. Then comes product and features and all the bells and whistles that you want to build. Unfortunately, most founders do it the other way around. You first build all the bells and whistles, then you figure out how is this actually going to be used. Then you say, okay, now let me go and show this great thing to the market, at which point you realize that nobody actually wants it.
Oh my God.
The other thing which I would also say is a pretty big mistake on my part was shutting down Helium Communications. This was a profitable agency business very early in the cycle of social media. Like I started this in 2011. Facebook was started in 2008.
2006, right?
Something like that. But as an agency, there was hardly anybody doing Facebook pages for people and stuff like that. So we were among, I think, handful of people who would have been doing it. So we were doing it, we were making money and stuff, but I was so hung up on being a tech founder that when the tech business didn't go anywhere, I was like, okay, just shut down everything. I don't want to do this agency work. That was not a good idea. Anyway, what I'm doing now is effectively that in a different avatar.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, there's this person I know who used to be an intern of mine at one of my earlier companies, who then went on to setting up a social media agency after I did. He still runs it now, and that's a multi-million-dollar, super successful agency.
Oh my God. But I guess you can bring all that experience and expertise now into CrazyTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Expand that way as well.
Exactly.
Right?
So mistakes teach you stuff.
Absolutely. In your podcast episode on allyship, you discussed workplace diversity. How has your own career been shaped by inclusivity, and what advice would you give to leaders?
I actually never thought of myself as an ally until I was invited to speak on allyship. But first of all, I think the concept of allyship is something along the lines of, if there's a disadvantaged group in any way, how do you support them in such a way that they are actually able to get equal access to opportunities? First of all, my whole experience with it started with my mom. Well, she was in the government at a time when most moms weren't, right? They used to be at home or something like that. So I always grew up in a household where, my mom was working. She was a very senior government servant also.
Okay.
So saw that, both people can work and, the heavens didn't come crashing down. Then after that, my wife is a pretty high achieving professional, much more than I would ever have been in the corporate world. Subsequent to that, I think my teams at Uber were, 70% women, and this is a team of 600 people. So my guess is some 300-400 of them were women. Many of them were performing roles which one would say are, which are STEM roles, which is places that, your women always get disadvantaged in some sense. So my best analysts actually were women and stuff like that. So the point is that I think I had the exposure. I was able to hopefully help out, which is why, this whole allyship thing. Everybody keeps talking about how you need to have quotas or DEI or something like that to, somehow make this happen. But I actually think it's more about what are people looking for. They're just looking for a level playing field. And then saying, if I'm meritorious, give me the same opportunities to, exercise that merit as you would give anyone else.
Level playing field.
Yeah. So that being the case, it's not really, nobody needs to set up quotas or anything like that. You just have to be neutral, in my opinion.
Well said. Yeah.
How should leaders or companies do this? So during interviews, for example, oftentimes recruiters will say, okay, here's a list of 20 people that you can interview, and 18 of them are men and there are 2 women. So if you just kind of push back a little bit and say, look, just give me an even slate. I'm not even saying we have to hire the woman. I'm just saying give me an even slate of candidates. At least make it like 12 and 8, not
Right.
like 18 and 2 kind of thing.
Right.
So give me that. And then whoever does well should continue on. So that's one. Then at work itself, also give similar kinds of work to similar kinds of people. So don't say, okay, this person is a man or whatever category we are talking about, and they're going to get all the good, visible kind of assignments, and this other person will do back-end stuff and take notes. So don't do that. Just give equal stuff or good enough stuff to everyone.
Right.
Let them shine in their own way. And finally, when time comes for promoting people or giving them, the reward for stuff, then you have to advocate. When it comes to promotions, appraisals, and all of that, the discussions are happening behind closed doors. It's a small group of people who are deciding the fate of a large group of more
Right.
junior people. So then you have to show up and defend your people, and that is all your people, not just some of your people. So don't play favorites in that sense. Play on merit.
Absolutely.
So how have the outcomes been? Just go with that, and then fight for those outcomes. Frankly, if you just do that, the rest will take
That's
care
good
of
enough.
itself.
Yeah, that's good enough. How did your corporate experience influence your journey as an author of best-selling children's books?
Yeah, so directly not so much because these are children's books and obviously corporate experience was corporate. But I think in two ways, I think it did help. One is the fact that with Go Places, we were making audio guides to historical monuments.
Right.
So I had a lot of research on historical sites. And these books are historical fiction written for children. So these are mysteries set in historical locations.
How cool. Okay.
So like the second one, Ghost of Golconda, is based on Golconda Fort. And I had a ton of research on Golconda Fort. So that helped a lot. So in some sense, I had the base material and some ideas that I could draw on from that work. The second thing is, I think working in corporate gives you two things. One is you have a certain amount of discipline.
For sure.
I mean, you learn how to get stuff done. You have to work within deadlines and so on. So I think some of that discipline helps in general. More than that, or in a weird way, I think working in a company means you have constraints. So you can't just sit down one day and start writing at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. or something like that. You come back from work, you do stuff, and then you have maybe an hour in the evening. You might have like half a day on weekends, stuff like that. So because you have limited time and you have this sort of inherited discipline from work, I think it actually helps as a writer. Writing is also a job. I think I know almost everybody I know says they want to write a book.
Including me.
Yeah, the point is most people who say they want to do it, I'll ask them why, and they'll say, yeah, I'm going to do this, or when I have time, or when I'm on vacation, or I've taken a break. That break and vacation and all is never going to come.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to sit down one day and just discover I have so many hours to write. So the constraint helps because you have to sit down and do something. If you just make up your mind that I'm going to write this thing in 3 months, which is what I did, it gets done.
That bursts a myth of you saying you're not creative. You need to be creative to write a book, don't you?
Yes. So the way I wrote the book, and I think, and because this is a mystery, you can't, or at least I couldn't start at the beginning and just find my way to the end, because there had to be an actual ending which we would build up to, right? So what I did was, from all the research, I actually put together bullet points and sub-bullet points.
Okay.
So I had a very detailed bulleted list. And the way I actually wrote it was, every time I would sit down to write, I would pick up one bullet and say, I'm going to finish off this bullet worth of writing.
Okay.
And you can't imagine how much that helped, because one of the things most people talk about is writer's block. So you sit down with a blank page and you're like, okay,
what do I write?
I don't know what to do at all. And you sit there blankly and then give up and go. But here, because I had a bulleted list, I would just be like, okay, next one, just write one page. Okay, next one, write one more page. It's like painting by the dots, right? You just go dot to dot to dot, and finally you're done with it. So so that helped tremendously. It was partly creative, but very much a corporate way of doing it.
Yeah, cool. So you've likened career growth to rock climbing in one of your podcasts. Can you elaborate on this analogy and how it applies to modern careers?
So again, speaking from my parents' generations, at that time, a career is like a escalator. You finish your studies, then you get on to the first step, and then slowly you'll ascend to the top, and then you exit with a pension or a retirement or something like that. And that was it. You work 30 years in the same sort of way. Promotions happened predictably unless you did something horribly wrong. I think for us, like our kind of age group, it changed a little bit because people started to get laid off, people started to get fired for lack of performance, or people started quitting. Like, nobody really wanted 30-year careers anymore. So you would kind of move around a little bit. It was a discontinuous line, but largely what you thought you would do is what you did. Like, you're in sales, you were in sales throughout. Or if you're in operations or finance, you're in finance throughout. And typically in the same kinds of companies. So, went from one large company to another large company to another one. And then you ended your career at the end by reaching hopefully somewhere near the top and didn't get a pension anymore.
I know. That's the saddest part.
Yeah. But now I think between both the way companies are operating and the way people want to operate, the career has become like something else altogether. You may start as something, but then, you do that for 2-3 years, then you feel like, oh, I don't like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then you might move laterally into something, some other industry, other kind of work altogether. People take breaks, they suddenly become freelancers. And on the other side of the spectrum, for more senior people, they may have got laid off. Now they are going to become a consultant or a fractional CXO or just do 5 different things, that kind of stuff. So that's why I call it like rock climbing, because you're feeling your way to the top. But number one, you're doing entirely different things. Number two is you don't know where on the top you're going to actually arrive.
The definition has changed as well.
Exactly.
Right?
So you can't even, first of all, see the top. Whereas earlier you could. I will start as an intern, I will end as a CXO, hopefully. Now it is, I'll start as an intern, I could end anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
So you can't see the top. You don't know where at the end of your career you're going to end up. The path is entirely determined by you. Almost nobody else is determining it. So it's become quite different.
Like, so that's scary actually when you think about the future generation. Like, they don't have it so clearly laid out for them, right?
Exactly.
So it seems like life was easier, simpler earlier on.
It was simpler, but for a certain kind of person, it was very constraining. See, I think it is, depending on who you are, life is going to be much worse or much better. The much better category is people who are self-directed. They want to do different kinds of things. They're self-motivated. They like learning things by themselves, all of that. If you're not, and you're in the middle of the bell curve or lower end of the bell curve in terms of capability or interest or ambition, then I feel like you are heading into a much harder world.
Right, yeah. So what advice would you give to professionals looking to transition from corporate roles into entrepreneurship, especially in the creative industry? May I request you to look into the camera and directly talk to the person listening to you right now?
I think the first thing that you want to discover is a huge culture shock. So the culture shock being, all this while you were a somebody and you earned a paycheck. When these two things go away, you don't have a visiting card, you don't have a brand behind you, you become a nobody. And when you're a nobody, everything is harder. People don't want to meet you. Earlier, people would have been lining up to meet you. Now they are the ones shutting the door. You have to wait to meet them. That is a very, very big change that you're going to have to deal with. When I did my first startup, that was one of my biggest things, like going from VP at Citigroup to like a nobody at nowhere. That's very hard. So think about that. Second thing is, when you don't have a paycheck, number one is many people actually feel bad by the fact that they aren't getting money, which is already something. But more importantly, something that you won't realize is that when you don't have a regular salary, you also don't get access to loans, you can't open a credit card, you can't do any of that. So that will come as another shock, which is nobody wants to give you money anymore, even though they were chasing you till yesterday with unsolicited offers. In terms of tips for how to prepare for all of this, first of all, if you can, I think, try and test out your idea while you're still at work. So don't quit your job and then start figuring out what to do. Figure it out, find the market for it first, which means at least have a pilot project, have an MVP, have something which you can actually put out there and have people paying money for, so that you know that, okay, this indeed can work. So that I would say would be number one. Number two is save up enough money for at least 3 years worth of expenses. If you are the sole provider, then definitely everything will take longer than you imagine it will take. Most people start and think in a year I'm going to be super profitable and successful. That is very, very rare. much more likely it will take you at least 3 years to make any money at all. So have that kind of saving. And related to that, any loans and cards you want to have, better take all of that before you quit your job. But all in all, the other side of it is it will be very exciting, it will be challenging, you'll do things completely different from what you had to do before. You will no longer be in a box, you will define the box yourself, so you can make it as big or as small as you want. It means that you need to be quite self-motivated, self-disciplined, because you don't have any external force disciplining you. But again, I think once you get over this initial, the culture shock part of it, the rest of the journey is super exciting and you will never regret not doing it.
Oh, that's beautifully put. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with CrazyTok for the last 2 years. Thank you for being our media partners. And thank you for coming. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks a lot, Shalima. This was a fun conversation.
Thank you. And for you watching us or listening to us on podcast or reading our blogs, please keep doing that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dreamcatchers, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We are all over the place. And keep watching our episodes as we keep bringing inspiring stories one after the other for you. If you have someone in your mind or you yourself want to be here, please reach out to us. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay tuned. Signing off, Shalima Motial. Bye.
That's okay. I'll fake the natural laugh.
Yes, please do. Okay.
Action.
I'll repeat this question then.
I can't repeat the answer.
Yeah, please don't.